Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the team at Chen Real Estate, welcome to the auction of 23 Grandview Road in the heart of Box Hill South. For those of you who don't know me, Chen is my name. Also the listing agent here, along with Stephen, who has been working tirelessly throughout this entire campaign. We also have my colleagues here today, Tabinda, here to assist you with any questions throughout the auction process. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the vendors for entrusting us with the sale of this beautiful home that they have here behind us here today. For the neighbours in the crowd, thank you for coming and for making Grandview Road one of the best streets to live in Box Hill South. To the neighbours in the crowd, thank you for coming, and to the bidders in the crowd, thank you for coming, and I wish you all the best in the bidding procedure. And to the one lucky buyer, we congratulate you in advance on your astute purchase. This auction will be conducted in accordance with the rules and any additional conditions that are made available before the commencement of the auction. As auctioneer, I'll be indicating bids upon request and the right to place bids on behalf of the sellers, otherwise known as vendor bids. If when I decide to place those bids, I'll simply say vendor bid. This auction prohibits false bids, prohibits major disruptions by bidders, attempting to prevent us from bidding, and provides fines for misconduct. And last but not least, when this paperwork hits my hand and this property is deemed sold, I'll absolutely take no late bids and offers beyond that point. If you're successful here today, all that I require from you is a little 10% deposit of the full purchase price. Settlement time, you pick the time frame that suits you best. But the sellers have been quite flexible here today, anywhere within the vicinity of 30 through to 60 days, unless prior arrangements have been made with you beforehand. In the instance where you're bidding against vendor bids, you have two options: to not bid against the highest vendor bid, which means that you'll decrease your chances of being successful here today, as we'll get to negotiate with multiple parties afterwards. On the flip side, however, is that if you do bid against the highest vendor bid, you earn yourself the exclusive right to negotiate with the sellers, and statistically speaking, you'll increase your chances of being successful here today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you've all been through this beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house here in the heart of Box Hill South, red clinker brick as well. On the high side of the street, ladies and gentlemen, so you've got beautiful views of the Dandenongs as well, and a beautiful tree-lined street, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, and zoned for Box Hill High School zone, which a lot of families are looking for. Second to none, and you're walking distance to Kingswood College, Box Hill Central's within close proximity, wherever you want to go, on the tram as well, on Riversdale Road, very convenient location, and of course, trains, buses, trams in Box Hill Central as well. And this is a family home ready for you and your family to enjoy. Move-in ready, nothing needs to be done, ladies and gentlemen. Here's your chance to bid and buy now. I'm going to kick it over to you now. Ball's in your court. Opening bid, opening offer, 23 Grandview Road, ladies and gentlemen. Opening bidder here, gets a free bottle of champagne now, ladies and gentlemen. What do you say? Any bid offer at all now? I'm in your hands. You tell me what's fair market value in the current market, ladies and gentlemen. Pass here. Any interest at all now, ladies and gentlemen? Let's get the auction started here, ladies and gentlemen. What do you say? I can start the auction myself. Much rather see something from the crowd here. All right, what do you say? Any interest here? Need to know. Harry, what do you say? Here's your chance to bid and buy.
1.3, Calvin.
1.3, welcome to the bidding here, Eric. At $1,300,000. Wish you all the best in the bidding procedure here today. At $1,300,000 on my right. At 1.30. At $1,300,000 now. Bids here on my right hand side. Holly, what do you say? Any interest here? At $1,300,000 now. At 1.30. At 1.30 now. At $1,300,000. Bottle of champagne here. At 1.3. Ma'am, what do you say? 1.3 at the moment. At 1.3. At 1.3 now. Perhaps 20 to see you in front here. At $1,300,000 at the moment. At 1.30. At $1,300,000 here on my right hand side. As I said before, I can put in vendor bid. Much rather see something from the crowd here. At $1,300,000 on my right. At 1.30. Holly, what do you say? Been through multiple times. Here's your chance to bid and buy. At $1,300,000. You can't buy prime real estate like this with your hand in your pocket here today, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to bid to play at $1,300,000 on my right. At 1.30. At $1,300,000. They're loving life at the moment. In the box seat to buy. At 1.30. At $1,300,000 here on the right hand side. Buyers need to know any further interest or increments at $1,300,000 on my right. Going to call it 3 times here. First call now at 1.30. Second opportunity now at $1,300,000. Third and final call now at 130. In, out, need to know, 130 here. 130 at the moment. At 130. At 1,300,000 here on my right hand side. Ma'am, need to know if there's any interest here. At 1.3 now. At $1,300,000. At 130. 130 now, buyers need to know any further interest at $1,300,000. Going to call it 3 times here at $1,300,000 now. First call now 1.30. Second opportunity here at $1,300,000. Third and final call now at 1.3. Buyers need to know any further interest or increments at $1,300,000 now. At 130. At 130. Have a think about it, buyers. Each chance a bid box. 130. If you're looking for another present, we do have a prize for the final bidder here today as well. At $1,300,000 now. At 130. At $1,300,000 now. Need to know buyers 130 at the moment. $1,300,000. 130. Now, yes, seeking instructions on the phone. Harry, any interest here now? $1,300,000 still in the Great Valley buying zone. Think about the location, land size here at $1,300,000. You're not going to find another property in this location for this value, ladies and gentlemen. A family home ready for you to move in at $1,300,000 now. At 130. At $1,300,000. 1.3. At 1.3 now. At 1.3. At 1.3 now, buyers. Need to know is any interest here at 1.3 now. Ma'am's here on the phone at $1,300,000 now. Going to call it 3 times. First call now, $1.3 million. Second opportunity here now at $1,300,000. Third and final call at $1,300,000. At 130. At 130. At 130. At 130. Stephen seeking instructions here now. Take 10, Calvin. I'll take his 10. See you in front. Yeah, 1.31. Bids back against you here, Eric. What do you say? At 1.310 on my left hand side. At 1.31. 10. 20. 1.32. At $1,320,000. Bids back against you, Stephen. What do you say here? At $1,320,000 at the moment. At 1.320. At $1,320,000. 1.320. At $1,320,000 now. And I see 30 to see you in front here now. At $1,320,000 now. At 1.320. At $1,320,000 here on my right with the binder at 1.320.
330.
1.330 now on my left hand side. 2 bidders involved here at 1.330. 40 now on my right. At 1.340. Bids back against you, Stephen. At 1.340. At $1,340,000 here on my right. At 1.340. At 1,050. Good bidding here now. 1.350 on my left hand side. At 1.350. At $1,350,000 now on the left hand side now. At 1.350. 10 now. 1.360 on my right hand side. At 1.360. At $1,360,000 here on my right. Bids back against you, Stephen. At 1.360. At $1,360,000 at the moment. 1.360. At 1.360 here on my right. Ma'am, what do you think? At 1.360. 70 now. 1.370. At 1.80 back in front. At 1.380. At $1,380,000 here. At 1.380. Any interest here, Holly? At 1.380. At $1,380,000 here on my right. At 1.380. At $1,380,000 with the binder here. At 190. Good bidding here at 1.31. 1.4 bang. At 1.4 on my right hand side. It's back against you, man. 1.40 flat. At $1,400,000 here on my right hand side. It's back against you, Stephen. At 1.40. At $1,400,000 at the moment. At 1.40. At $1,400,000 with Eric here at 1.40. At $1,400,000 on my right. At 1.40. Think about it here, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to find another property in this location. Grandview Road, one of the best streets in Box Hill South. Look at a beautiful tree-lined street here, ladies and gentlemen. Walking distance to Kingswood College here at $1,400,000 here on my right. At 1.40. At $1,400,000 here at 1.40. At $1,400,000 here on my right. Stephen needs to know here at 1.40. At $1,400,000 here on my right hand side at 1.40. At $1,400,000 here in front here with the binder. Bids back against you, Stephen. Need to know at 140. Any other buyers? Here's your chance to bid at 140. At $1,400,000 here on my right. At $1,400,000 now. Need to know 140. At $1,400,000 now. First call now 140. Second opportunity at $1,400,000. Third and final call at $1,400,000 now. All done, finished, silent. 140 here on my right hand side. Here on my right now. Any interest here, Harry, at 140 at $1,400,000 at the moment. At 140 here on my right. At 140 at $1,400,000 here on my right hand side. Stephen, any further interest increments here, ma'am, at 140. Here's your chance to bid now, ma'am. Late stages of the auction here at 140. At $1,400,000 on my right. At 1.4 now. In, out, need to know buys at $1,400,000 now. Gonna call it 3 times. First call now 1.4. Second opportunity here now at $1,400,000. Third and final call now at $1,400,000. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to hit the pause button and seek further instructions from our vendors. I'll be back with you in just a minute. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've sought further instructions from our vendors here. We're at $1,400,000. You're in the box seat here, sir. At 1.4 now. Bids back against you to my underbidders here on my left. At 1.40. At $1,400,000 here on my right hand side. At 140. At $1,400,000 here on my right hand side. Bids back against you here, ma'am. At 140. At 140 now on my right hand side. Bids back against you, Stephen. What do you say? 140. 140. At 140. At 140. Very, very close here now, ma'am. At $1.4 million here on my right. Bids back against you here on my left. At 1.4. At 1.4 now. Need to know buys. 140. Hello?
Yeah, 410.
410, ladies and gentlemen, we're on the market and selling for no better bidding here today at 1.42. At $1,420,000 on the market and selling. At 1.42. At $1,420,000. Bids back against you, ma'am. 1420. At $1,420,000 now. Any further interest, Holly? Sure. At 1,420. Here's your chance to bid and buy. Properties on the market. You may not get the other property that you like at $1,420,000. But if you bid here today, definitely you can buy this property here today at 1,420. Hate for you to miss out here today and run the risk of paying more at future auctions for properties that you might not like as much. At $1,425 now, 1,425. At 1,425 here on my left hand side, 10, 1,435. At 1,435 now here with the binder. At $1,435,000 here on my right hand side at 1,435. At $1,435,000 bids back against you here, Stephen, at 1,435. At $1,435,000 now. Going to see another 5, Stephen, at 1,435. At $1,435,000 at the moment.
440.
440, good bidding here at 1,440. At $1,440,000, 50, good bidding here at 1,450. At $1,450,000 here with the binder on the right at 1,450. At $1,450,000 now, bids back against you, Stephen, at 1,450. Anyone can buy this property here today, 1,450 here on my right. At $1,450,000 now, with interest rates expected to go down a couple more times this year. Here's the perfect time to buy, ladies and gentlemen. At 1,450. At $1,450,000 bids back against you, Stephen. What do you say? At 1,450 now.
5,000.
Sorry, 5,055 now. Good bidding here at 1,455. At $1,455,000 now. Here on my left, bids back. 60, good bidding here now, 1,460. They're slowing down here. That should give you confidence, ma'am. At 1,460. At $1,460,000 now. Bids back against you here. At 1,460. At $1,460,000 with the binder here on the right hand side. At 1,460. At $1,460,000 here on my right. At 1,460. At $1,460 now. Need to know. Reserve Bank meeting in July, ma'am, at 1,460. At $1,460,000. Surely, at 1,460. Every decrease in interest rates, ladies and gentlemen, that will give the market a bit of a boost here at 1460. Borrowing capacity goes up, more cash on the marketplace at $1,460,000 with Eric here on my right hand side. At $1,460,000 now, going to call it 3 times here. First call now at $1,460,000. Second opportunity now at 1460. Third and final call. You've been saying no to me all day. Let's just say yes for once. At 1460. At $1,460,000 here on my right hand side at 1460. Any price that you pay at an auction is the market price map at 1460. At $1,460,000 here on my right. 1460. At 1460. You're not going to find another property in Box Hill South, a house like this, for $1,460,000. Once it's gone, ladies and gentlemen. At $1,460,000 now, and then you'll be back onto the marketplace searching for another home. At $1,460,000 here. Put the end. Get your weekends back, ma'am. No more open for inspections and auctions. At $1,460,000 and phone calls from real estate agents. At $1,460,000 here on my right. 1460. At 1460. At $1,460,000. Final bid, man. What do you say? 1460. In at 1,460,000. Are you sure? Give you 10 seconds to change your mind. At 1460. Harry, last chance. 1460. Holly, any bids here now? Need to know. $1,460,000 now. Gonna call it 3 times here. First call now at $1,460,000. And at 500 now. Stephen's going to ask you for a $1 sir. Second call at $1,460,000. Third and final call, $1,460,000. All done. Finish. One. Welcome to the bidding here, Harry, at $1,461,000, and I wish you all the best in the bidding procedure here today at $1,461,000. 65 good bidding here, 15465. 1465 bids back against you, Harry. What do you say? At 1465. 166. 1466. At $1,466,000 now. 1466. At $1,466 with Harry here on my left hand side. 1466. At 1466 to Binder, what do you say? 1466 at the moment. 1466. 70 good bidding here now. 1470. 171. At 1471. At 1471 here on my left hand side. At $1,471,000 now. At the moment. 75 good bidding here now. 1475. At 1475 here on my right hand side. At 1475. 76 good bidding here. 1476. At $1,476,000. 80 good bidding here now, 1480. At $1,480,000. Bids back against you, Kirby. What do you say? At 1480. At $1,480,000 here on my right. Bids back against you here on my left. 1480, 81. 81. 81 back against you, bidder. 1481. At $1,481,000 now. 85. 85 here on my right. 85 back against you, Harry. 85. 1485 here at the moment. At 186. 1486. At $1,486,000 here on my left hand side. 1486. At 1486 here on my left. 1087. 87 now. Bit slowing down here. 1487. 1487 here now. Perhaps try lucky number 8. I'll go straight to 1.5 would be my suggestion. A lot of buyers put those limits on those round figures. So if you go to 1.5 first, you could secure the property here today at 1487 here. At 1487, 88. 88 here to Binder at 1488. 1089. 89 now back against you. At 1489, 90. 90. 90 here. At 90 here on the left hand side. 91. 91. 91, 91, 1491, up $1,491,000 here on my right with the Binder at 1491, up $1,491,000 here, 1491, back against you, Harry. What do you say? 1491. 1,491,000. One last one, thank you. 1492. You heard it from the gentleman himself. 1,493. 1493. Kirby, what do you say? At $1,493,000. That could have been their last one as well, Harry. Let's test the bid. At $1,493,000 here with the binder. At $1,493,000. At 1493 here on my right. At $1,493,000 here, Shaw. Man, what do you think? You don't want to be first place. At 1493, best position would be first place. At $1,493,000 now. That should give you confidence, ladies and gentlemen. You're buying prime real estate, prime location. That's why there's multiple bidders here today. At 1493. At $1,493,000 here on my right. 1493. 1493. So you're buying and selling in the same market. The higher you pay for this home, the higher you're going to sell your home as well. 1493. At $1,493,000, the market is relative. At $1,493,000, and if you're looking to sell your property in the coming months, it will probably sell for more as interest rates go up, sir. At go down, sorry, at 1493. At $1,493,000, that should give you confidence, a little bit of extra money to bid for this property here today. At 1493 on my right. At $1,493,000 now. Gonna call it 3 times. Prepare to miss out, buyers. First call now at $1,493,000. Second opportunity here now at 1493. Third and final call now at $1,493,000. All done, finished, silent. Well, congratulations, I think. Commiserations to the underbidders here today. We're at $1,493,000. This property is selling. This property is selling. Put your hands together to the new purchasers. This property is sold. Congratulations. Commiserations to the underbidders. Congratulations to our vendors. Thank you for attending another CHN auction.
Yeah, it's alright, it's fine. She got a champagne. She got a